Paul said to the Galatians, listen to this, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faith, gentleness, self-control. Now, if you had to describe your life, if you had to put some things down, aren't these the ways you would want to describe your life? But they aren't the way that we live. They're not the way that we would have to honestly say we live. We don't have these things. Why not? Because the Spirit isn't at work. The Spirit isn't alive to us, isn't alive in us. Spirit is something we study. He's not someone we know. And so the fruit, the result of his work, is not seen. How is it that a Christian husband loves his wife the way that Christ loved the church? It's through the Spirit loving her in him. How is it a wife loves her husband? Through the Spirit loving her husband through her. How is it you love your brothers and sisters? Through the Spirit. See, that's the way this thing works. Most of us don't know anything like that. You read, if it is true that the 21st century church is more like the first century church than ever before in history, then why don't we have the stories? Have you read Acts? Have you read some of the stories? Do you know there's a story in here about Peter walking down the street and people trying to get close enough to Peter so that his shadow would fall on them? If his shadow fell on them, they would be healed. Now, can you imagine me walking from one place to another in this building and people running up to me and trying to figure out where the sun is so they could find my shadow? People don't run up to me. You run away from me, think I'm going to ask you to do something or ask you to give something. Why aren't people where you work, where you live, where you go to school, trying to figure out ways that they can get next to you? Because if they get next to you, they know somehow Jesus will touch them. Why doesn't that happen? You know. I know. We don't want it. We don't want it. Now, you read the story of Acts and you say, oh, the Pentecost. I'd love to be there at Pentecost when the Holy Spirit fell like fire and everybody jumped up, started preaching, and everybody, there thousands and thousands of people were converted. I would love to be there. Really? Would you love to be there enough that you would pray for 40 straight days? 40 days. A month and 10 days, locked in a small room with 120 of Jesus' followers, vowing not to leave until the Spirit came. Would you pray that long? Would you pray that hard? Me either. Would you put your life down in front of him and say, everything I am, everything I have is yours. Take what I don't need. Take what doesn't look like you. Leave only what glorifies you. Fill me and make me bigger so you can fill me more. Do you ever pray like that? You know, the preachers tell another joke about a guy who dies and goes to heaven. Gabriel's giving him his tour and he goes by his little mansion. And about behind the mansion is a big barn, huge barn. So the fellow runs out there and he looks at all of these things that are boxed up. And he starts going through the boxes and realizes it's everything he had ever wanted in his life but never got. And he ran back to Gabriel and said, what is all this stuff? Do you know how much I wanted that? Gabriel said, oh yeah. These are all the things Jesus wanted to give you that you never asked for. What's that noise? It's the power that we never knew we had because we never wanted it badly enough to ask. If I go away, Jesus says, I will send you the teacher. He's here. The gift of Jesus is yours. If it's what you really want.